Also, no pressure. My niece might be in here, so
Oh, that's awesome.
Just a little bit of pressure.
I just found out that she has been hanging out with like the esports team and is really wanting to learn how to play games.
That's
That's
awesome
awesome.
That's
news.
awesome.
Yeah.
So cool.
All right, we are recording and ready to go. Thanks, everyone. I'm going to hand it over to Sheridan.
Awesome. Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to our conversation series titled A Seat at the Table with PlayVS Game Changers. I'm Sheridan, your host. A little bit about me, I'm the social media manager for Florida State Esports, graduating this December. I have completed a few projects celebrating women in gaming, and I am very honored to be part of this Game Changers initiative with PlayVS. So we're going to get started by introducing our panelists. And just so you know, we will have Q&A at the end, so everyone make sure you utilize the Q&A feature down below to submit your questions. We'll get to them at the end. So starting with Liz, if you want to introduce yourself to the audience.
Absolutely. Thank you. It's great to be here. Thank you for having me. I'm Liz Murphy. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer at Ritual Motion. Ritual Motion is a health and wellness brand for esports and gaming. We launched about a year ago, so we're a new company, but have had really great reception for both our products, for health and wellness, and also our content, which has, as of late, been performing really well and have had some great success bringing on our VP of content, Crystal Mills, and covering a lot of actually women in gaming, the theme that you had just mentioned, Sheridan, also. So my background is actually in publishing. I spent 22 years in more of a traditional publishing role with magazine companies, Time Inc., Bonnier Corporation, with some brands like Popular Science, Parenting, Suver, and working both on the editorial side and then also on the marketing, PR, communications, research, all that good stuff. But my heart is really in marketing. So hopefully that also will apply to personal brand marketing and networking. So thanks for having me.
Awesome. Elaine, if you want to introduce yourself.
Yes, sir. Hi, my name is Elaine Gómez. I am a game designer at indie studio Elaine Media, where I do a little bit of everything. Since we're an indie studio, our teams are small. So I get to do anywhere from like systems and games mechanics design to level design and world building to narrative design, storytelling, storyboarding, and programming, all. And I wear many, many hats. So it's a really awesome privilege and an honor to be able to have a career and a job that I absolutely love, and that will sharpen me to bigger and greater heights as I move on in my career to potentially, ultimately, my dream goal to becoming a creative director somewhere. So I really do love what I do every day. Aside from my work professionally, my day job, I'm co-founder of Latinx in Gaming. So we're just a community of game devs and all types of professionals in the games industry in the United States and Latin America. And we just huddle together there to have family, have sense of a belonging, and just a place where we can kind of just validate our identity and our challenges and help each other out in whatever way we can.
That sounds so awesome, and I'm very excited to learn more about that. And last but finally not least, Jessica.
Thanks, Sheridan. So I'm Jessica. I'm a senior product designer at PlayVS, which is a platform for competitive esports for high school, college, and beyond. And as a designer, I get to work on new features that bring competitive formats to folks and get to talk to players and coaches and learn all about this great field. So been super excited to join this panel today and can't wait to learn from all of you.
Awesome. Now let's just jump right in, and thank you again for joining us. So let's start off. Why is networking so important? And if you want to give an example of a time that you grew your network either intentionally or organically, let's start with Jessica. Switch up the order a little bit.
I love it. Yeah, I think to start off, I think networking is so important because it really provides the foundation, not only upon which you can, you know, be aware of opportunities, jobs, internships, like cool side gigs, but also it's the way that you can offer those opportunities to other people. Maybe you know of someone else that might be a good fit, even in the areas where you're not. I think for me, yeah, maybe a good story to share. You know, I got my first internship kind of from a friend of a friend who was in a club I was in college. So my first paying design gig was from someone who just happened to be in the Women at College of Computing organization at Georgia Tech. And so knowing that, you know, organizations like that in college can bring people together, and she just posted it in sort of the group one day, and I applied, and that's kind of what got me excited about design. It was really exciting.
That's awesome. It's definitely important to get yourself into lots of clubs, especially if you're in college or high school. Start early. Start in high school. Liz, do you want to talk a little bit about your experience?
Yes, absolutely. And I second what Jessica had to say about keeping your network open, and you never know if something comes your way and you pay it forward to someone else, that'll come back around to you. So I'm a strong believer in that. I feel like most recently for me in kind of building my network and keeping connected with folks, this transition from the traditional media career to esports and gaming and the startup world has been a big change for me. And I have really been able to, keep my ears open, my eyes open. I'm just absorbing so much information about the industry, meeting fabulous people like yourselves, and making sure to, as much as I can, keep notes and then follow up on LinkedIn and try to stay connected with the folks that I'm meeting, and keep it all straight, because this is a really interesting and fast-paced industry. And, everybody seems super open and enjoys networking. So I think it's a great personality trait of the industry.
Definitely. And Elaine, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I think that for every discipline inside games, it's like a little bit different, right? The way that people like get together and speak. And now with the pandemic and COVID, it's even harder to have opportunities to get to meet people and find mentorships and things like that. So I think that my biggest advice with networking, at least from what I've experienced, is staying active and staying engaged and finding a place where you feel you belong and find your people, like your community. For some people, that may be like for us, like Latinx in games, having Latin American folks to talk to. For other people, it's joining like a Discord server that's all about user interface design, and that's all that they do, and that's like their family there. So find a place where that speaks to you and that it's about what you love. And then from there, that's where you can build relationships. I think that's the most important thing about networking is building a connection with somebody at a level where they'll remember your name, they'll remember where you're at, what you want to do. And it's not just about this quick, like instant information exchange, right? Because that's like the worst thing that you can do to yourself, because then you lose that connection with that person. So like Liz said too, like following up on LinkedIn or maybe sending an email, there's so many different ways to make sure that those connections that you make become relationships and become established, and you can pay it forward, where then maybe like a couple of years later you feel comfortable enough to approach that person, perhaps about an opportunity at the company that they're in, or perhaps wanting to ask them for a mentorship or to look at your work or look at your resume or portfolio. Like there's so many ways that you can engage with somebody. So it's important because those relationships end up helping you out in the long run. The industry is not as big as it looks. It really, really isn't. People know other people just by word of mouth. So you definitely want to make sure that if somebody does know you by word of mouth, that they have something good to say about you, right? And that's all again comes from just talking to people, and putting yourself out there and staying active. Because if you don't, then that's pretty much going to be it. If you set yourself apart and isolate yourself a little bit, like it's going to be harder in the long run to be able to establish find connections, because people will be like running that marathon, and then you'll be kind of like running your own 1 mile like a race by yourself. So definitely try your best, because we all have different personalities. Like, where some of us are introverted, some of us are extroverted, some of us have some anxieties and things that we have to cope with, and those are challenges. So what is best for you? Try to do that, and then find people who will support you in that way, and then go from there.
That is fantastic advice. I know there's definitely a ton of like Discord servers and like resources out there for anyone, pretty much. I mean, I'm in a lot of women in gaming Discords, and I haven't gotten the courage yet to post in there yet, but I do lurk around a little bit. Um, and networking, that's the biggest advice that I've heard from anyone that I've talked to in the industry. So, next question, how did you organically build your network? Jessica, if you want to start us off, or we could start with someone else.
Yeah, happy to start off. I think organically, at least in college, it was definitely like making friends in classes, people I studied with. I went on some study abroads and got really close with the folks that I traveled with there. And so when we came back, we definitely had that shared experience to kind of grow and talk from. And now those folks still, are in similar careers to me. So if they post about job opportunities, those are my people. I would say organically after college, it's definitely just like being open to the more social events, making sure that, if someone's going for coffee, like you say, hey, can I come too? Kind of put yourself out there in a more organic way. Or if someone's walking to get lunch, be like, hey, I want to come too. Because, after college, it can be a little harder to like organically grow your network that way. But that's, where you meet other people.
I think that's great advice. Liz, do you have anything to add?
Yes, I would agree with that in making time to network and step away from the day to day and connect with people, because it gets, you can become overwhelmed. You can get into the flow. You're working on something. I went weeks at a time not leaving my desk for lunch, right? And then all of a sudden you're like, wait a second, I need to step back. And if someone invites you for coffee, or if you have an opportunity to invite someone else, somebody new starts at your office, obviously all these things, hopefully after the pandemic, we can all do again. But even now, I'm sure there's downtime every once in a while where take the opportunity to get to know somebody beyond work, because it does make connections deeper, and it'll help you in the future be more at ease with yourself too, because you have to learn to tell your story. Oh, what do you like to do? What types of things? Do you like to travel? All these things, and you begin to feel more comfortable speaking about your own brand, and all that connectivity just gives you that comfort level with people, that when you meet new people, you have the comfort level with them, hopefully a little easier.
Definitely. Elaine, do you have anything you want to add to this?
Yeah, I miss going out to lunch and doing Starbucks runs so much. Because now it's just hard to even get people to like convene like on Zoom or something like that, because everybody's so busy with stuff. I think though, for in my personal experience building organically, so outside of COVID, going to like conventions and conferences and attending like little meetups and events really helped me find even if they didn't become friends, they became acquaintances that I was comfortable with seeing in the future and speaking to and things like that. So now more than ever, everything's becoming online and a lot of things are being streamed, so we have an opportunity to go in the chat box and talk to people and exchange Twitter handles and follow each other, DM each other. So I think that is so organic in the way sometimes that happens, where you find just one thing that you all like and then you follow each other on Twitter and you're like, oh my gosh, like you're literally just like me, and I had no idea that you like to cook and that you like plants and all this other stuff, which has happened to me in real life outside of like my profession. So it's nice now with technology to be able to have a little bit more of like comfortability, because sometimes like for me, like sometimes I get a little shy when I'm in a big place with lots of people that I don't know. But it's easier like in a DM approaching somebody and being like, hey, I saw this cool post that you posted about whatever it may be, like, would you be willing to like talk a little bit more about that, or is there a resource that you can give me? And I feel like conversations are a little bit easier because there's not that fear that I'm right in your face and like I'm asking you questions, or I'm like disrupting whatever it is that you may be doing. So I think that now is so easier a little bit to do that. So if you have always been wanting to do it, try it now. Like the the time is now to venture out and talk to people that you otherwise would not have a chance to meet because you're not in the same place.
I would totally have to agree with that. And I have to echo the sentiment that like I miss conventions and LAN events because that's where I've met so many other collegiate leaders. The other co-host of this amazing conversation series, Annabelle, I met at DreamHack Atlanta, and we've been best friends ever since. And definitely, I would agree that just reach out in DMs. Like worst cases, they're not going to see it, or they're not going to respond. So just do it. So let's see. What are some skills that you use to meet new people, whether online or in person? Let's switch up the order. Liz, would you like to weigh in?
Sure. I think having a little bit of research on hand up front is always helpful. Like we talked about, there's a lot of public profile information out there right now. You can see what they're posting. You can check their LinkedIn profile. Having a couple of things that you kind of already know before you go into a meeting, or when you're about to approach somebody on DM them and just say, hey, oh, I saw, like you said, you're into cooking or whatever it might be. It's always great because then you can ask them questions that will get them to open up about themselves. And then that gets the whole conversation started, and it puts people at ease. Even though it seems like maybe the research up front is a little, like we said earlier on, like there's a lot of information out there, but the point is that you can find a connectivity point with someone that puts them at ease, puts you at ease, and then you have that opportunity to make the connection. So I would say just be curious, ask plenty of questions, and then, as we said before, always follow up, because crafting a great email as a follow-up, or becoming friends on LinkedIn, whatever it is, that just puts the exclamation point on your conversation, and it'll lead to other things. And then they have your contact info ready at hand. So I would definitely, I love a good follow-up note. So that's my.
Awesome.
Okay.
Jessica, would you like to add anything?
For sure. I think the skills I use to find and meet new people, really it's probably going through people that are maybe a little bit more social, maybe already have that existing network that I don't have. So, more socially, if I've got a friend that knows a lot of people, I'd be like, hey, is there someone that I haven't met that that I should meet? Why don't you intro us? Because that warm lead helps out a lot. But for me, I think my number one skill is like finding someone I like on Twitter and then stalking the people that they follow and their follow list. You know what I mean? Like you read their bio and you're like, oh, you're a designer at another startup. Cool, I'm following you now. And being a little unafraid to reach out. And then finally, I think the last skill is like redirecting. So, when I first moved to LA after San Francisco, I didn't know that many designers. And occasionally people reach out and are like, hey, I'm trying to hire someone for this role. If it's a small company, it's oftentimes a designer reaching out. So I would just be like, hey, I'm actually not, happy at PlayVS, but I'm trying to meet more designers in LA. Can we chat anyway? And maybe I'll know someone that I can send your way. So redirecting and trying to meet people that way, can also lead to interesting conversations as well.
Gotcha. And Elaine, would you like to add anything?
I guess because Liz and Jessica brought up such good points, I don't know if I have any like technical like tips, but something that has helped me and has surprised me is how kindness can go a long way, and respect. And this happened to me at a convention one time. Somebody approached me after I had given after I was part of a panel, and I didn't know who they were, but I didn't blow them off. I engaged with them, and when they exchanged business cards with me, they were like a higher up at Nintendo, and I had no idea. But because I was kind and engaged with them, like that connection happen. And that has happened to me multiple times in my life, where just by the mere fact that I'm willing to listen and to talk to somebody that approached me via DM or not, or like in person, it has opened up doors of opportunity for me and for me and my nonprofit and for my friends, because like Jessica was saying, like you can redirect people when an opportunity comes. You can be like, hey, I'm not available, but I have this friend, or I know this person who is also a designer, or who is more involved in this community, or knows about this specific topic, and I can send their information along the way. And it becomes kind of this pay it forward situation, which is it's so great, because it really it sets you apart, right? People value you more when you are that person that is willing to stick your neck out a little bit to give them an opportunity or to let them know about something. So I think that's a great skill to have. Be open. Like sometimes people can be creepy. I'm not saying engage with creepy people, but sometimes those people who are asking you a question that it may be super genuine, and you never know, maybe 5 years from now they will be someplace that would be really cool, and you made that connection from the beginning.
I'm definitely writing all of these tips down. I think that's great advice from all of you. So do you guys have any advice for contacting new people? Any do's or don'ts? I know sitting down to write that email can be a little bit difficult. So if you have any tips for people like me, that'd be awesome. Let's start with Liz.
Absolutely. I would say always be sincere. There's no reason to try to overthink it. Kind of keep it simple. An email is great first contact. You can keep it brief, keep it simple, and then try to get towards that face-to-face meeting. If nothing else, being able to talk to somebody face-to-face, that platform will give you the best ability to connect with someone. So in that first, whether it's a direct message or whether you're messaging someone on LinkedIn, or if it's an email, just be very sincere, be kind of brief, get your message across, but just I'd love to meet with you if you ever have any time. I think it's really important to try to make that face-to-face connection, because it will just lead to so much more.
Definitely. And I actually have a follow-up question. Do you think that you should reach out to people who you know will respond, or do you think it's worth reaching out to people who might be a little bit farther away in your network, but you might still be able to get them to respond? So I don't want to say like CEO of Nintendo, but like, someone who's like, you think they're like all the way up there and you don't know if you could reach them. What are your thoughts on that?
I would say, don't limit yourself, but at the same time, it's always great to have like that one, degree of separation. So if you happen to know someone who knows someone, it's a little bit easier probably to get a response, because it will trigger an immediate, yeah, I know. But there's no reason not to try to shoot to connect with the CEO of Nintendo. You just never know. I will say, I think that your chances of probably engaging with the person go up dramatically when you have that 1 degree of separation, or something that connects you. Even if it's, I saw you on a panel, whatever it might be, that one little connection point triggers something in their mind that makes it memorable.
Okay, good stuff. I had that question in my mind, and I was like, oh, could I reach out to the CEO of Nintendo? Probably not, but will I give it a shot? Definitely.
Yeah, you could.
Elaine, do you want to weigh in on this one?
Yeah, I definitely say shoot your shot, because you never know. You never know what can happen. And the worst thing, like we said before, is they say no or they ignore you. So that's not that big of a deal. So go ahead and do it. I don't know if y'all have heard of a story of a player. This was like way back in the day, maybe like in the 90s or early 2000s. Somebody started an email chain with the founder and CEO of Valve, with Gabe, and he was like, hey, I would love one day to work there, and I love all the games and stuff. And they started an email chain that was years and years in the making, and eventually that person ended up working at Valve. And that's because they shot their shot, and they were persistent in like trying to to engage with Gabe and in a genuine way, not be like not being like, hey, I want to make a game and I'm pitching this to you, because you have people that do that, and that's very off-putting to us developers, because it's like, who do you think you are? Like, are you telling me how to do my job? Excuse me. So definitely be mindful of the way that you are approaching somebody, and have a purpose, a reason, and an intent for that message or email or that you're trying to send. So like Liz said, if it was after a panel that you happen to have attended or watched, let that be your connecting point. Hey, I saw you on a panel. If it was something, maybe a Twitter thread that they wrote that you really inspired you and motivated you, send them a DM or an email about that. Like, hey, I really enjoyed reading this thread. It was really helpful to me. I was wondering if XYZ. So definitely have a purpose. Don't like aimlessly reach out to somebody, because for as the receiver, like put yourself in their shoes. As a receiver, like how would you feel? How would you see if somebody out of the blue tried to talk to you and like butter you up about something? You'd probably feel a little bit like, now this is really suspect. Like, I'm not trying to engage with this person. Especially as a woman too, when you have some guys whose intent may be not great, you know. So definitely be mindful, right, of what you're setting out there, what you're receiving, and the tone by which everything is being laid out, because that can definitely raise up red flags that you can use to disengage or to bring it to attention to somebody else. Like for me at work, for example, like I've had situations where I have to be like, you know what, I need to bring this to HR, I need to bring this to my lead, because this is not okay, the way that the person tried to engage with me by email or by LinkedIn message, right, in regards to my work. So like same thing with esports. If there is somebody who looked at your play and they're like, well, you suck and you should do this stuff to like fix how you play it, blah blah blah, like, okay, cool, thanks for like putting me down. You know what I mean? Like it depends, right, on the situation. But when you're sending stuff out, definitely be mindful, purposeful, have intent in your message, and that will come across when it is being read.
Definitely. And Jessica, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I think I would just add, if you're like sort of cold DMing someone, kind of be brief in that outreach, and like Elaine said, be really clear, like not only with what you want, whether it's feedback or advice or, I guess just like a casual chat about more information about the type of work that they do, but also maybe include like, hey, I want to chat for like 15 minutes or 20 minutes, just being really respectful of their time. So it's not like a nebulous ask. And if you do have something to offer in exchange for their time, like in terms of a value trade, like, oh, I can tell you more about esports, you tell me more about VR, like, that way it's not so much oh, can you just give up some time from your day to give me some advice? I can maybe help you out a little bit too if you're curious, would be my advice.
Awesome. I think that's great advice. So let's switch gears. Let's talk about personal brands, which I'm very interested in. So first question, what is a personal brand and how did you develop your own brand? All right, Elaine, let's start with you.
So I'm gonna come at it from like being a game developer and a game designer, right? So um there's two different avenues, right? When you're working, you either go indie and do your own stuff or work in a small studio, or you go big like AAA, right? So when you either way, when you build your resumes and your portfolios and things like that, there's definitely a difference between both, that I have had to learn, especially graduating college and applying to studios to find a place of work. So, in building a brand in as a developer and inside the industry, like working in a studio, like it's you have to sell yourself. You're not really selling your yourself. You're selling your skill set, right? So putting out there that like, I know how to design, I know how to use these softwares, hire me because I'm great at what I do, right? And that is way different than if I was an indie and I'm trying to sell who I am and my product, my games, and they speak to me and my voice as a designer, right? It's different. They're different avenues, because in AAA, it's really about, you are part of like a team of hundreds and thousands of people. So it's not about you, it's about the project. Whereas in indie, it is about you and the project, because the teams are so small that your voice is so much more amplified in your work, and your work ethic and the way that you collaborate with people. All of that comes across a lot more like sharp in a smaller game than versus a really big game. So for me, if you were to look at my resume, my portfolio, everything's really clean, because in my field, what I'm selling is my skill sets and my knowledge, my know-how, and the experience that I have built up in the past couple of years in those skill sets. So when it comes to being like an artist, though, like just a game designer, right? But if I was an artist, a 3D modeler, environment artist, it's completely different, because most of them have like their own logos. They do freelance work outside, so they sell their service and their skill sets to different studios or other projects. So I would say, if you are inspired at all to come into like the game dev side, definitely the way that you brand yourself is determined by your discipline and the skill sets that you're trying to sell there. But if you are completely and totally freelance, then that's a whole nother different conversation, because then you're selling you have to market yourself, put yourself out there in a completely different way than I would have to if I'm just applying to a studio, right? So definitely I would say target your discipline when it comes to that, and figure out what translates the best in speaking about what you do. If it's art, like showcase that. There's so many different ways to do that on like a web page to showcase art, versus for me, like, how do you showcase like code and programming? Like, that doesn't look very nice like at all. It's just letters and numbers. So there's different ways to be able to do that and make it appealing and build yourself as a professional.
That is awesome to hear. Liz, you want to tell us about what a personal brand is and how you developed your own brand?
Absolutely. So to Elaine's point, you really are, when you're marketing yourself, you're marketing your skill set. And one of the things that I learned over time is there are experiences that you have that you may not think are worthwhile to include on your resume or to pursue or to package, but in fact they really can be things that round you out as a person and as a brand. So don't discount the experiences you may have had when you were in high school or when you were in college, the clubs that you're a part of. Make sure you're including those with the message that you're sending, whether it's an email, whether it's on your resume, if it's on your LinkedIn page, because those things will really begin to form a picture of the person in addition to your skill set. I would also always look for opportunities to add to that skill set, however big or small. If there's a class you want to take, if there's a convention you want to attend, I mean, having that kind of experience can sometimes trigger anybody who's looking at your resume for jobs, and it can set you apart because you've had experiences that maybe aren't specifically tied to your skill set, but round out who you are as a person and your experiences. So, never stop learning, and don't discount the experiences that you've had in your earlier career, because those can be really valuable to somebody who's looking at your brand and who you are and what you can bring to the table, just from a culture perspective too.
Awesome. I definitely have a few things to add back into my resume, so I'll get on that right after this. Jessica, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, when I think about a personal brand, I tend to think about, this is that focused story about yourself that someone else is going to be telling. So like, what's that immediately recognizable thing that kind of sets you apart? Like, are you the designer that's also really into research or has really spicy takes on product design? And, I think it's what makes you kind of like memorable. And yeah, I think ways to develop your brand is just like get feedback from people that you trust. Like, hey, when you describe other people about my skill set and the work I do, how would you describe it? And, you know, if you like what they say, steal it. I definitely have stolen some things from feedback that, you know, sort of peers and managers have given me over the years. So I think it's a bit of being self-aware, but also knowing that, you know, other people are telling your story. So ask them what they're saying already and kind of build from there.
That's a great point that I like never even considered, like asking people like how they describe me and my work. So I'm gonna get on that too. So next question, why should people build a personal brand? Why is it important? Let's start with Liz, if you have an answer ready.
Yep, I would say it's important to help you stand out. I mean, your unique, whatever your unique qualities are going to put you in, they're going to set you apart from others in that, you know, in whatever form that takes. You know, make sure that your personality comes through in addition to your skill set, and you know, be genuine and authentic to yourself. That's important to try to make sure that becomes part of how you describe yourself. And to find you know, you'll find a connection point with somebody that you might not have expected if you go a little bit out of your comfort zone and talk about yourself, and the things that you enjoy and the places that you've gone or the things you like to eat, whatever it might be. You're going to find, oh my gosh, we both like, you know, spinach salad. Who knows? There's going to, again, like kind of always coming back to that, what's the trigger that someone's going to remember about you that sets you apart?
I like that a lot. Elaine, do you have anything to add?
I think Liz really hit the nail on the head with that one. I guess what I can add, it's specifically to, because we're all gonna go through this at some point, is like applying for a job, right? And it doesn't matter what field you're in, what position you're going through, it's the same process. And I feel like when you have a brand that helps you stand apart from the rest in games, that really is something. Because imagine a recruiter getting 200 applications for a position. How are you going to stand out from the 199 that they have to sift through? Are you going to immediately go into the no pile, or are you going to go immediately into the yes pile? So having a good understanding of what you're selling, to be an asset to wherever it is that you want to go, writing that out really well, making sure that you are genuine, that you are sincere in your skill sets. Like don't be like, yeah, I'm an expert in whatever it is, and then you end up not being an expert in that thing. Like, be honest with yourself, right? And if you don't have the skill sets, like Liz said before, you can take classes, you can watch some YouTube channels to get better at that one thing so that you are ready when the time comes. So definitely the reason why it's important is so that when it's your turn to get to that level up in your life, whatever that may be, that when there's competition, you can really stand out, and really be of value to that place that you're applying for, that community that you want to be a part of.
I definitely think that's important advice, especially like trying to expand your skill set. You don't always have to go to school. I'm personally a self-taught graphic designer. I'm not the best, but you know, you can do it, is my point.
I love
Jessica.
hearing that, by the way. And I was going to mention it, and I love that you said that. That is it's music to my ears when somebody says, I taught myself XYZ. I taught myself how to use XYZ social tool. Like, that is a sign of a self-starter. And it immediately like triggers when I'm interviewing someone, like, okay, this person wants to improve. They're somebody who's looking to grow their skill set, and you know that they can take on challenges. So I love that.
That is awesome to hear, and I will keep that in my mind as well. It's very reassuring. Jessica, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I think in terms of the benefits of creating a personal brand, obviously it's good for like that self-discovery and determining like what about your persona as a person and a worker and a human kind of can lend people towards serving a goal. And usually that is a goal about, getting hired or working on projects that you really want to do. I think it's also helpful in focusing on things that maybe you don't want to be part of, like your work persona or your work brand. For example, I kind of decided like, oh, even though I do some like traditional art and I am a designer and sometimes people care about that, I really just want to focus on like more digital experiences and maybe not like illustration or stained glass or other things. And that can be really focusing also to decide like what is part of me as a person and my interest and what is a part of my like work professional brand, and trying to keep those worlds separate just for your own kind of sanity and enjoyment can also be helpful.
Definitely. So what strategies did you use to develop your brand? If we want to start out with Elaine.
Sure. So with my brand, I specifically reached out to somebody that I knew from a network. Talk about networking. Somebody who her whole like side gig is reviewing resumes and cover letters and portfolios. So through her, I paid her to help me figure all of that stuff out, revamping my stuff, figuring out my weaknesses and my strengths in those areas, getting her feedback and iterating on all of my things so that I can stand out as I apply to like different jobs in the future, as I continue to make game projects and adding them to my portfolio so that recruiters will see like I guess the highlights, but also like of course not my weaknesses, because we don't want to sell that, right? But really like upplay like the things that I did really really well, and the things that perhaps I did not so well but that I tried, regardless, especially the things where I have instances where I have gone out of my way to get certified in specific things because I wanted to get better and be an asset to my team. So that happened with programming, that happened with UI UX design, and I just took that initiative, that self drive. I was like, my team needs it, so let me do it. Let me go out of my way. Let me take a course. So when it came to that, and when she looked at all that stuff, it really helped me craft almost like a whole nother different, like it's not saying that that I completely changed who I was like on paper, but she really helped me saw myself as like, wow, you are a badass like designer that is a go-getter. Like I wasn't like giving that out in my previous resume, my cover letters, and she was able to like extract all that stuff, which really like motivated me to be like, you know what, I am a badass. like because sometimes you get so shy and you don't want to like put yourself up in the pedestal, and you want to be humble and like not you know have a big airhead, like have a big ego. So I was like one of those people. I was like, I'm not gonna push the envelope. She's like, no, you have to, because you are a badass and you work really hard, like sell yourself that way. So that was my strategy, was getting somebody who was way better at all that stuff than I was, so that she could amplify me.
I love that. I totally like feel the same way. I'm like, I want to be humble. I don't really want to talk about myself. Like that's okay. So I totally think that's awesome advice. Jessica, if you like to weigh in.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that I did, and I've stopped doing it, but maybe I should start back up, is a couple of years I challenged myself to try to post more publicly. So, like long form content, like however many words I could, write in a day that I think was worthwhile, or maybe even not worthwhile some days for other folks to read, and then hit publish and put it on the internet. I think really helped me think about like what my external brand was going to be, and get a little bit of like an early following for feedback. I think that really helped me kind of decide like, what are the topics that I care about even writing about or discussing about, and what are the topics that, even more importantly, like the audience that I'm trying to create will resonate with and will like engage with me on and leave comments or DM me. And I think that was really helpful, just to like being more present online in a way that I hadn't been in terms of like creating content.
Awesome. And Liz, do you have anything else to add?
No, I would second Elaine's point on having somebody give you feedback on your resume and your cover letters. It's amazing how many times you might go over it and they'll still find something that either there's a typo or there's a different way to say something. Like you kind of you almost become numb to it after a while because you're wordsmithing it so much, right? Like what, you're trying different ways to fit it all on one page. But there are resources out there that you can use. There's, I have since a handful of years ago, somebody turned me onto it. It's called Fiverr. Has everybody used Fiverr? Do you guys use Fiverr? Do designers use Fiverr? Yes, because there's tons of designers on Fiverr, but there's also people like people will review your resumes. There are social managers. There's a lot of talented freelance folks out there, and it's not expensive. It is not expensive. Somebody, you might be able to review your resume for you or help you write a cover letter for 20 bucks. No joke. So I would definitely suggest checking it out. And also, if you have a skill set, it's a great place to market yourself. And you can take a look at how other people are marketing their own brands. I would highly suggest checking it out.
Definitely. And if you are in college or in high school, definitely look at your university. Do you have a college and career center? They might, offer those services to you. So question and answer time. Everyone, just a reminder, if you have any questions for these awesome individuals, put them in the Q&A right now because we're about to start answering them. So first question, and anyone can chime in. Is networking easier or better in a virtual setting, or is in-person networking best? Elaine, do you want to start, or anyone?
Sure.
Who's ready?
I think that they're both valuable and they both have their pros and cons, right? I don't think one's better than the other, but I do think that one's easier over the other. Like I mentioned before, online it just feels better because you don't have that pressure of like freezing in front of somebody and not being able to find the words for what you want to say. So I think it is a little bit easier that when digitally we can think about what we want to say first and then type it out and then read it again and be like, oh no, maybe I shouldn't say that, and then rewrite it. We have the chance to do that online, and I think it's easier to be able to communicate and network because of that. But if you have the opportunity once the pandemic is over, hopefully, fingers crossed, next year, like later next year or whenever conventions start back up again, if you have the opportunity to go, if there's a place that is near to you, like try it out, and you can always leave. I'm one of those people where sometimes I get very overwhelmed around people and I have to dip because I don't feel comfortable, and that's okay. But at least you tried, and that gives you strength and encouragement to try again next time. And then the next time until you feel like you're good, and then you could stay for the whole thing. So definitely it depends on your personality and the way that you approach people, if you're an introvert and an extrovert. But neither is better than the other. I think they're both valuable if you have the time and the opportunity to get involved.
Definitely. And I'll add here, like, before we return to in-person stuff, like, why not try it out over DM? Like, start to get confident, because I need to do that. But, Jessica, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I would just say, I mean, I think there are a lot of like memorable moments to be had in person, especially if there's a captive audience. Like if you're in a place where people have self-selected to want to meet people, like a meetup or, a conference, like that can be really valuable because you're already in the same zone trying to get to know people. Digitally, I know I get a lot of social anxiety though talking to brand new people. So I do appreciate the fact that, even situations like this, panels like this, we're able to meet each other. And I never had to like leave my room. I never had to, if I get nervous, I have some notes off to the side, to be honest, to make sure that I don't fumble. And those aren't really the things you get in real life. So I definitely appreciate that kind of online context for sure.
Definitely. And Liz, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, no, I agree with both Jessica and Elaine. I think they both have their value and quality, both in person and virtual. And virtual seems to be getting better and better all the time. I've been, as of late, researching virtual conference technologies, and it is amazing what you can do now, and the way that they are trying to emulate having a conference virtually in the same way that you can be in a convention hall and still have those meaningful connections. There are a lot of really great technologies now, so it's making it even easier to be virtual. Thank goodness.
Awesome. Another question. Are traditional resumes outdated for those seeking MarCom, I assume marketing and communications positions? And do resumes with more designs stick out more? Jessica, would you like to speak on this one?
Yeah, I will say resumes, unfortunately, are not outdated yet. I think having a beautiful and clean and like well typographically laid out one-page resume goes a long way. I will say, at least in my field, keeping things simple and clean and like focused on the typography more than something highly illustrative is helpful. But yeah, I think anything you can do to stand out in terms of its sort of experience and showcasing like 1 to 2 lines about your personality and what you're looking for goes a long way as well. So yeah, I think unfortunately we haven't gotten rid of that really nice, clean one-page resume, but maybe one day we will.
Liz, do you have anything to add to this?
No, I agree. The resume is your calling card. Essentially, when you're applying for a job, you've got to have it. Make sure there's no typos. Definitely get some feedback on it. You can be creative. There are lots of great new designs, and from when it was way back when, you know, Times font. That's it. Like now, you can do a lot of things. So don't be afraid to change it up a little bit, but still make it you know, very, very clean and representative of what you want to get across. And don't be afraid to have a few different resumes. That's something that I learned later on in my careers. You know, you're going to be looking at jobs that might have different you know, they may emphasize different parts of your skill set. So make sure you adjust your resume to fit that particular job that you're applying for, assuming that it's appropriate.
Awesome. And Elaine, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I echo what Liz said, like 100%. Like tailor your resume, and I know cover letters. Sometimes people think that they're like optional, but like those are the things that really have helped me stand out when applying, because I get to really talk a little bit about who I am and like speak about why I want to apply and work at that place. So definitely take your time there too, and be genuine when it comes to that, and tailor it to that company, tailor it to that position and what they're looking for. Because there's what they called those like zing words that they use like when you're applying, and if you use some of the same words that they use to post that position and put them in your resume, put them in your cover letter, like those words are going to pop up in those auto engines that they use nowadays to get all the resumes. So be smart about that too, like use their own game against them, you know, when it comes to that. For me, I'm a big fan of Etsy. Like all my resume templates that I have used the past couple of years are from Etsy, because I trust graphic designers and people who know how to do art, because I don't know how to do it. So I invest like a couple dollars. Sometimes you can get one for like $1.50. Some of them are really, really cheap, and they're completely customizable, so you can move things around and change colors here and there. What I would say it's outdated, at least for as a developer and a designer, is this whole idea that you try to put stars or like ranks on something. Like Adobe Photoshop, like I have 5 stars there. I'm an expert, but that doesn't really help the recruiter see your skill set. Like you can just say I am knowledgeable, you know, tech skills, and put Adobe Photoshop in there instead of like rating yourself with stars or dots or a slider. I think that's outdated. And I think formatting sometimes can be a little bit outdated. You don't have to put in your phone number and your address and all this other stuff anymore. You can keep it simple and condensed so that when the person reads it, they're only getting what they really need out of the resume and not all this like extra stuff that may be even distracting to them as they read through your resume or cover letter.
Definitely. So the last question we have is from Mario. who is looking to break into the college esports scene as a coach. If you guys have any recommendations for breaking into the college level, or if we want to go broader, breaking into the esports or gaming industries, any advice on that one, Jessica?
Yeah, I think definitely from like a college level, I've had the luxury to speak to some college and high school coaches. So I think from the most part, where they've come from tend to be more of like an academic background I've seen so far. And Melanie, you might want to fact check me on this. You've been at PlayVS a lot longer than I have, but yeah, I think just having that like traditional like coach, like mentorship experience can be really helpful if there are ways for you to coach or mentor folks now, even if you aren't at that level. I know like being able to help folks even at like the middle school, high school age could be really fun and huge as a building block on your way there. And then, yeah, I think reaching out to like athletic directors and coordinators and members of those teams and trying to be helpful could be a way to start.
Awesome. And
don't normally hop in, but I'm gonna hop in this
surprise
time.
guest.
I know, but I'm gonna echo kind of what Jessica said, but I think that if you take all of the things that this panel has said and use it, so reach out to those colleges. Reach out to the college coaches that you know now. Most of them are on Twitter. Most of them have Discord, and they are very friendly and they are very kind and they are willing to mentor and help anybody trying to get in. So I have not had any issues with them ignoring people. They usually offer to mentor. So do the resume, do all the pieces, and then have that purposeful ask. So if you're reaching out, be kind and considerate of their time, just like we all said previously. Like just use those same steps and find that coach that you just, maybe you don't immediately start with Maryville. Maybe you start with somebody else, right? And then you work your way up because they probably get DM'd a lot. You don't want to go to Nintendo immediately. Shoot your shot, but also know that there's lots of colleges all over and they are willing to help and talk.
And lots of the directors are really accessible. And honestly, getting involved with collegiate esports discourse, especially on Twitter, is like, it's a great way to meet all of them. There's a lot of opinions on collegiate esports Twitter. So that is going to wrap up today. Where did my closing go? Here we go. Thank you everybody for joining today. We will be posting the recording on playversus.com and we will share the recap on socials. I believe they will be emailed to you as well. So keep an eye on your email. For more information on the PlayVS Game Changer initiative, visit playvs.com/Game Changers. In the meantime, you can connect with us on at PlayVS on socials to learn about the next panel, which I believe is December 10th with Annabelle, and it'll be a great time. So you gotta show up.
Yeah, we're going to be discussing growing your personal skill set.
Ooh, can't wait to tune in. And thank you to all the panelists as well for being here. It's been awesome talking to you all. And I think that's it.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much. It's great to be here.
I really enjoyed it. Thanks again, Sheridan and Melanie and everyone else.
Yeah, of course. Right. I'm sorry, I'm trying to find the link for Game Changers because I think there's a hyphen. I'm going to put that in the chat. And like what Sheridan said, like I will email you out the links and that were shared and the recordings. Thank you and have a wonderful night.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.